episode number 166 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. My guest today is Monica Cox. Monica is a top functional fertility coach and infertility warrior. She helps women get to the bottom of their fertility issues using science-based functional medicine to help increase their chances of getting and staying pregnant. She dealt for years with unexplained infertility, failed IVFs, and survived several miscarriages before becoming an IVF mom and getting pregnant naturally, even though the doctors said there was nothing she could do to improve her situation. Author of the best-selling journal Boost Your Embryos, Baby and Me, and Fertility Food and host of the highly popular podcast Finding Fertility, Monica is dedicated to inspiring women to look beyond their infertility diagnosis and take control over their health through clean eating and simplifying their lifestyle. So welcome back to the podcast, Monica.
Hi, pleasure to be back.
So happy to have you back, and I'm really excited to talk. If you guys ever want to find out more about Monica, where she introduces herself and gives her background, you could check out episode 44, which is the first episode that we spoke about. But today we're going to have an interesting topic that we're going to talk about, and it's going to be identity and labels,
Yes.
right?
Oh, yes. Oh my God. It's a very hot topic within our community for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you know what? When you do go through this and the challenges, you go to the doctor, what are the first things that you get? You get a bunch of labels, a bunch of diagnosis, and a lot of those are subject to change. I mean, I've seen them
hmm
change.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was my story. I was absolutely labeled infertile and told I couldn't do anything about it. And I identified for a really long time like that. And what I later discovered many years down the line is that that labeling and that mindset actually contributed to not being able to take that power back to
Hmm.
change my situation because I had those blinders on, right? This is my reality.
Hmm.
And when you're so like stuck in your way and put those labels on you, you're so unable to see, like, take the blinders off,
Hmm.
see what can actually be your reality. You might be dealing with something right now, but that isn't your forever situation if you don't want it to be.
Without a doubt. And I think that one of it is because we trust the people that we go to, the doctors and the professionals, and we go there. And what's interesting too is so you got diagnosed and labeled infertile, but yet you had two kids. So how does that make
Yeah.
sense? Right?
Right. I know. But even like I don't watch people now on Instagram because I'm still working on myself and I still get triggered by certain things. But I see these women who have babies.
Hmm.
And that could be via egg donor, via IVF, maybe even adoption. I'm not sure. That's a gray area for me still, but they still sit there and call themselves infertile.
Hmm.
And I'm sitting there going, like, how are you infertile if you literally had a baby come out of your vagina? Like,
Yeah,
that does
exactly.
not
Exactly. Well,
make sense.
I never liked that diagnosis. I never liked that word. It just bothers me because it's not true.
Yeah. There's very few people who can actually call themselves infertile.
Hmm.
There are definitely women out there and men
Yeah.
who cannot do that. But for a large majority of people out there who still have their ovaries, some eggs, a uterus, the fallopian tubes, all
Hmm.
those working parts. And I would even go as far to say, even if you don't use your own eggs, if you're able to use egg donor, even sperm donor, you're
Hmm.
still fertile. You're still
Right.
growing a life inside
Hmm.
of you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And for me, I find it's damaging because people because I really believe like identification is so key in everything in your life. I see it even with like kids in schools, how teachers speak, and I've seen it even like in family, just like the whole label aspect can really pivot, it like change your trajectory because of what you believe. Like if you adopt an identification, no matter what that identification is, it could really change the outcome, and it can change really the energy with which you're trying to do something in life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, when you start going down the rabbit hole of
Hmm.
cellular health
Hmm.
and your beliefs and your subconscious mind, you soon realize that you literally are dictating how your life performs with
Yeah.
your subconscious mind and your beliefs. And it's a lot of work. It's like trying to train for a marathon to
Hmm.
switch those beliefs, and
Yeah.
um, but it's doable.
Right.
And that's the crazy thing. And I think for a lot of people who, I don't like, no matter what you're struggling with during infertility, right? There are some physical aspects that you cannot change with your mind. Like that's just how it is, right? We're physical beings on a physical earth. So
Yes.
we do have to play, somewhat to our constraints, right?
Right.
Like you're not going to regrow your fallopian tube.
Right,
Like I
right.
wish that could
Exactly. No,
happen.
of course, of course. There's all balance. Yeah.
Right. But if you're just given like a basic label like unexplained, PCOS, endometriosis, low AMH, things that are dictated to you because of test scores.
Hmm.
um
That's really what it is. I say the same thing. It's like you feel like a failure. It's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the things that you can start playing with your mind and are going to dictate how on this physical earth you can change those. So your mindset is super key when it comes to diet, right? Like we're emotionally attached to our foods. Like
Hmm.
a lot of the Hispanic and Indian women that I work with, when they have autoimmune issues, and I'm like, look, like sorry, but tomatoes and paprika are going to be off the table for a while. They like their whole world
And
shatters
corn,
because their
corn.
identity,
Yeah.
yeah, and corn, right? So it's a mindset. That's who I am. And so if when you start um, relabeling yourself or reworking your subconscious mind, that's when you're able to shift those physical things through your actions.
Hmm.
It's not this think positive and positive things will happen to you.
Right.
It's think positive, do positive steps, and then positive things will come.
Yeah, and it's really believing in yourself. I think that that's key because I know Amy Ralph's book, Yes, You Can't Get Pregnant. One of the things that really struck me about it was one of the first questions she asks her clients and patients is, do you believe you can get pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's just this belief. Do you have that belief in your body? And it can be hard. It could be hard because if you're just constantly seeing the same thing happen over and over again, it's very hard to challenge that belief.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I always say if you go out to seek alternative methods, you believe. Like you
Yeah,
have to, right? Like
yeah,
deep down,
right.
you still have that hope because you're willing. Like I was willing to see a voodoo doctor. Like
Yeah.
it was like, and I did some stupid
Hey,
shit
listen,
in
there's some
my
good
hope.
ones out there.
Yeah, right. But I had that hope in the back of my mind, and they
Yeah.
say hope is you're willing to risk failure,
Hmm.
and that's what keeps you alive is that hope. So I do believe anyone still on this path, no matter how many years you've been on it, no matter how many things you've tried, if you're still working towards that ultimate goal, you have
Hmm.
that hope inside of you.
Yeah.
And I think it's just connecting with the right people, isn't it? and
Yes.
continuously hearing the same thing over and over again until it finally clicks for you. That's the key. I think I listened to over 10,000 hours of podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me years to get into mindset stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
meh.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting, and also as you know, with coaches, fertility coaches, a lot of them are where they are because of their own journey, and they've learned
Yeah.
so much, and after the fact, of course, hindsight is 2020. You
Hmm.
know, they say, "Wow, I
Yeah.
learned so much more. Like I would have never known all this stuff, and I actually feel better where I am right now compared to where I was before." And sometimes, you know, those challenges are a wake up call to different choices. Sometimes, as difficult as it is, they actually do help you grow ultimately. And, you know, it's just definitely interesting because if you do have the wrong team, that's
Yeah.
huge. You can have the wrong team, you can choose the wrong doctor. I see it all the time.
Yeah. 100%. Um, I would say to anyone, going out and seeking that support is feel the vibe in the room, trust
Yeah.
yourself. There's been plenty of times, especially with doctors, that I have not felt the good vibe, but I listened to them anyways, and it prolonged my journey,
Hmm.
you know, for not only financially, but months, like, right, they start slowly ticking away when you're using medical assistance. It's not
Yeah.
this quick fix like people think it is. There's wait lists and protocols and all those things. But yeah, it's one of the hardest things. But when you trust your gut, and um, I always say time is on your side. I know
Hmm.
we feel very time poor with fertility
Yeah.
because we are measuring it every month. But if you literally take a step back, like, medical assistance isn't going anywhere. It's $1 billion industry. It
Yeah.
is going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Um, but if you take steps back and just really, take these breaths and go, okay, what do I need to do to, if I'm going to use medical assistance, to make it the best outcome I possibly can, because
Hmm.
that's where your power lies. IVF literally takes egg and sperm together and puts it
Hmm.
back inside of you. That is the only thing it does. It does not improve your egg quality. It does not improve your sperm quality. It
Right.
cannot grow a baby. Like,
Hmm.
those are still your responsibility. Yeah, they
Hmm.
can use drugs and those things, and those might be necessary in some instances, but the only way to improve egg quality is by putting in the work yourself, and sperm quality too. There's no drug out there as of yet. I
Yes.
hope I hope it never comes, but
Yep. Yep. And for you, you learned how important food is.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, for you, I
yeah,
mean, I love that you say eat vegetables for breakfast. I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. It was weird because no one can look at me and say I had a poor diet. Like, I had the standard American British diet, um, but it was radically, I mean, it was a thing that was causing my infertility for me. Yeah, of course, my stress levels and my type A personality were contributing. But for me, it was hands down, I had developed an autoimmune issue, which was silent compared to most.
Hmm.
And I radically changed my diet and found that, once you heal your gut and give yourself the right things,
Hmm.
um, that's where the magic lies.
Hmm.
And after you're doing that, and things, there's two parts, right? You need time for it to heal and to work. Your body, like, think of a broken bone. It just doesn't take 1 month for a broken bone to heal. But if you've put in the work with the diet and things just still don't feel right, that's where the mindset comes in. And you see a lot of women, which is really weird now, because this is, like, I started with more the nutrition side, but most women who are coming to me now, they're already doing that stuff. They're already, like, top of the line diets. And now it's shifting into that mindset, that belief, those missing pieces. Yes, we always do find something with, like, the physical stuff that we can improve on.
Hmm.
But a lot of times I do feel like their very honest best friend and call them out on their BS and say, okay, this is where we need to shift. This is where you need to go.
Yeah, for sure. And the mindset I mean, it really, like you said, impacts your diet because diet is a very behavioral thing.
Hmm.
I think that that's what it is. I mean, yeah, we can learn what foods to eat, not to eat, but it's a behavior. It's a
Yeah.
behavior, it's a pattern. A lot of times it gets into emotion. I never considered myself an emotional eater, but honestly, popcorn like makes me feel comforted sometimes. Like, and I
Right.
know too much corn's like got sugar, like all these different things. I know it's a
Yeah.
very simple thing, but like some food is very comforting for everybody. Everybody has that something.
They have
And
that something.
it
Yep.
really does. It really does. Food and emotions and food and connection. There is this like soothing aspect of food that you don't even realize. It's so primal and it's so subliminal
Yes.
and so subconscious that you don't even realize it's there. So a lot of things in general, like a lot of health things, all come down to our beliefs. What's going on underlying? Like what is our subconscious mind believing about ourselves, about our body? And it's crazy. I mean, look, multiple personality disorder. What is it called? Dissociative personality disorder. They've seen that like people will start to have allergies if they switch to a different personality. Same exact
Hmm.
body. What's different? Identification, right? Like who you are, who you identify as being. And then all of a sudden you have food allergies and you have food sensitivities or even your eye color can change. I've heard of it's crazy. It
Yeah.
can impact your mind, can impact so much.
Have you read Biology of Belief?
Yes, I was just
Yeah.
talking about Bruce Lipton before. I've had him on the
Oh,
podcast.
have you?
Yes, he's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I mean, it's just mind blowing that this is out there, right? Like that power exists.
Hmm.
And I definitely believe with women and the way that women have been treated for hundreds of years now. Um, I just think there was some really smart men,
Hmm.
and they didn't want those women to have the power. I mean,
Hmm.
how power women actually are.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, it's
and
a silent
especially with
power.
yeah,
It's potent.
yeah, exactly. And it's I think they just got scared, right? There were some
Hmm.
men that were just like, mm-mm, these women
Hmm.
have too much power. They have too much wisdom.
Hmm.
We don't want this anymore. And once you start taking back your power, I think it's that innate, life giver, right?
Yeah.
Like think of all the sayings, like your intuition, your mama bear
Hmm.
instincts, right? Like
Yeah.
all those things. And I think they've just gotten taken away from us. And
Hmm.
now with the 21st century autoimmune issues brought on by our food, our environmental toxins, um, we then feel super powerless because
Hmm.
our fertility, I feel, is like super strong. And then once you take that away, you're like, I don't like, I feel like I have no control over anything. This is the one thing I was created to do, and
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like, really?
Yeah, it's primal.
Um,
It's like it's a primal thing. And so for women, that is like everything. I mean, for men, it's different things. I've noticed like men don't perceive it quite as strong as women, but women, they'll feel like that with other things, maybe more
mhm,
work and different things. But for women, it is so primal that
yeah.
when you're a child, you hold a doll and there's this connection. You could see it. You could really see it. And I'm also thinking about the collective, that energetic
Hmm.
collective patterns and what we feel, and that even in some ways we've been conditioned to kind of push back our femininity when
Yes.
we're trying to get ahead in the workplace. And I mean, I remember feeling that at times, kind of like less than or different than the men that I worked with when I was working in New York City corporate America. Like I really felt that energetic, almost I had to like be tough, like I had a little bit more
Hmm.
of that, especially in New York, And it's kind of like you almost reject that femininity within yourself. And it's kind of like it's a shift there. Like, wait a second. No, like this is me. I'm gonna embrace it. It's like my power. It's my life. my life
Yeah.
force.
You know what's crazy? I've been working a lot through some of my deep subconscious beliefs that weren't hindering my fertility, right? You go down the rabbit hole, you keep continuing on. And I would say my parents were about the same in bringing me up. But my mom, she always fought harder, right? But I never understood why I resented her more than my dad.
Mm.
And through working through emotions and emotional freedom tapping and all that, it's come out that I subconsciously was told by my mom to honor men more than women.
Mm.
You know, no matter
Wow.
what my grandfather did, he was on this pedal, right? Like my grandfather became he went from an orphan to a millionaire before he died. My grandmother birthed 9 children and took care of 9 children.
Wow.
You know, they both had these amazing lives, but my grandfather was on this pedestal and my mom
Mm.
had an awful relationship with her mother.
Oh, wow.
Luckily they, got together later in life and it was fine. My grandma was always around, but I couldn't for the life of me understand, like, where does this come from? Like, I know this isn't true. And yeah, it was those subconscious beliefs, how our society is, the man's amazing no matter what they do. He
Hmm.
can be an alcoholic, a workaholic, an abuser, a this or that, but he made the money, it's all right.
Yeah.
Where the grandma on the other side, was a bitch because of A, B, and C,
Mm.
that's it, end of story. And so
Right.
I think it's been this societal thing, just how you were saying that, like, women have had to work harder to reach up to this, like, standard of men. And I found that I was doing that to my own boys, like, your father's amazing, I'm just your mom. And I was like,
Mm.
oh god, hell no, this has got to
Yeah, yeah,
change.
good. You got to change that.
Like, we are equal.
Nip that in the bud. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's just the power of subconscious belief, right? Like,
Totally.
I didn't even know it was hindering me or even making me behave a certain way when I finally became a mother myself.
Totally. And how were ways that you found, what were like really, really strong ways that you figured out how to tap into your subconscious mind and how to empower yourself?
Um, I don't know. I wish I had this really epic answer for that, but for
Or
me, it
ways, like anything that comes to mind.
um I think with my diet, I got really in tuned in how my body was feeling.
Hmm.
And when you're on this, like, let's just say, perfect lifestyle, no one can fault my diet.
Hmm.
And I was still feeling heavy. Like, sometimes it would be on my shoulders, sometimes it'd be on my chest. I would still get some anxiety. I would still get, like, depression. Things still just weren't how I wanted them to be. Yet I finally had my dream family. I had my dream life. I eat the perfect diet, and I kept continually listen to subconscious mind stuff and mindset and money mindset and all those things. And it eventually just clicked. And then my body took over and it was like, I'm going to make you feel like shit until you get rid of this.
Hmm.
And then it
Totally.
was like, okay. And I use emotional freedom tapping. I know there's many amazing things out there, but um,
It's
it was just
incredible.
listening.
It's
Yeah.
powerful because it utilizes the body. When you
Yeah.
try to fix the mind from the mind, you're just going to go in circles.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been the hardest thing, but it has been life changing. And a little tip for when you're dealing with fertility issues and you want to start changing things up slowly: words. Just start using different words. So for me, it was when I get pregnant, not if I get pregnant.
Hmm.
And it's just simple little things like that. You do not need to go and get every skeleton out of your closet to get pregnant. I
Yeah.
didn't do that, but it is just those little shifts that help you get there. Slow down, find a form of meditation, either visually, mentally, audio,
Yeah.
or even movement, yoga, things like
Mm.
that. Just keep being persistent with it. It's not going to work overnight and it's not going to be easy. Like,
No, no.
it's going to be
Exactly.
challenging. But
Yeah, any change I find is challenging. It's just growth.
yeah,
Growth isn't always pleasant.
yeah, exactly. But it's worth it. It's definitely worth it in so many more ways than just getting pregnant.
Yeah, it really is. And you actually bring up a good point because I do mention this to my patients. I really believe in visualization, but then I have some patients who are not visual, they're very audio. And so
Yes.
for them, I say, okay, then say the words or listen to something,
Yeah,
and then other people are more, they need to write or, everybody has their own language. So
exactly.
if somebody who's not visual at all is told to do visualization, they're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So it just doesn't, and they're like, and then they feel like a failure because it doesn't work because
Yes.
it's just not their strength. But so use whatever that is. So like movement, I like that you were giving all of those different options because it is like everybody has their own language
Yeah.
on how they can connect to their subconscious mind.
100%.
So for people who want to work with you and find you, how can people find you?
Yeah, I'm at Finding Fertility everything. Instagram, TikTok, my website's Finding Fertility. Yeah, come hang out. I do a lot of crazy stuff on TikTok, a lot of fun, a lot of humor, and a lot of honesty as well. Some tough love, but that's how you can connect with me.
Yeah, and you guys got to check out Monica's Instagram and social media and TikTok. She's great on TV. I told you this. You're great for
Yeah.
camera. I love it. And very
Oh,
honest and real, which is I think such a great part of who you are. So, thank you
oh,
so
thank
much
you.
for coming on today and I loved our chat.
Yeah, it was my pleasure always connecting with you. Thanks for having me on.
So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.